we want to be part of this mystery. We want to be there at Tabor. And so I'll just read again the gospel version here. Now, about 8 days after this had been said, Jesus took with him Peter and John and James, who went up the mountain to pray. As he prayed, the aspect of his face was changed, and his clothing became brilliant as lightning. Suddenly, there were 2 men there talking to him. They were Moses and Elijah, appearing in glory, and they were speaking of his passing, which he was to accomplish in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions were heavy with sleep, but they kept awake and saw his glory and the 2 men standing with him. As these were leaving him, Peter said to Jesus, "Master, it is wonderful for us to be here. So let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah." He did not know what he was saying. As he spoke, a cloud came and covered them with shadow. And when they went into the cloud, the disciples were afraid. And a voice came from the cloud saying, "This is my Son, my chosen one. Listen to him." And so we want to imagine ourselves being invited by Jesus now to accompany him with Peter, James, and John to the mountain. As I climb, I may consider in detail the difficult task I'm undertaking, pausing frequently to observe the changing perspective of the terrain below. But as we reach the summit, I am aware of Jesus and the disciples as they quiet themselves in prayer, and I too relax and enter into prayer. I contemplate Jesus in prayer as he enters deeply into communion with God. I see this union of love reflected in his face, his posture, and his total being. And I allow myself to absorb this glory of God in Jesus. I also become aware of the presence of Moses and Elijah and listen carefully to their conversation with Jesus. As the event unfolds, I am drawn into Peter's excitement, and I desire to remain here. What did Peter and his companions hear? What did they see? They saw Moses and Elijah, of course, speaking with Jesus about the necessity of Jesus' own exodus, about his imminent suffering, death, and glorification. They saw the prophets of the Jewish scriptures depart and give way to the new hope held in following Jesus. And the disciples were privileged to receive a sustaining glimpse of the glory of Jesus' resurrection. And they heard again the words spoken at Jesus' baptism. "This is my Son, my chosen one." The voice definitely confirmed the identity of Jesus as God's Son and as God's divinely elected, suffering servant. And then, enveloped by the awesome cloud of God's presence, the disciples received the instruction, "Listen to him." I too now become aware of the cloud of God's presence enveloping all of us. I listen and am aware of my own feeling, my own response as I hear addressed to me the words, "This is my Son, my chosen one. Listen to him." And so we'll spend a few moments here in the presence, on the mountain, in God's light, in the silence. And any thoughts and feelings that might surface through this time, feel free to record them, of course, in your journal.